Welcome, everyone, to our first ever podcast. We are the KarWells.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Sarah. And if you know us from any other social media, you know that we are Airbnb interior designers / investors. Woot woot.
Yes. And anybody who comes from a different platform, or if you're new here, KarWell is actually our last names, our married last names put together. We brainstormed for how long on a name for what we were doing, and then we decided that our celeb couple name sounded the best together.
Yeah, we actually put it out on Instagram originally. We had like 6 other name options, and it was overwhelmingly yes to KarWell. Part of our thing was we were like, man, maybe we should be using our maiden names instead because like girl power. But our maiden names combined are Bone and Drown. Not appropriate. So anyway, KarWell it is.
Yep. KarWell sounds better anyways. It just kind of works. So I'm good with KarWell.
Yes. So anyway, we are starting this podcast. Long story short, because we've developed a little bit of a community on other social media platforms, which is amazing. We love you guys. It's been so much fun. And so we are looking to expand on that. A lot of the issues that we were running into with TikTok and Instagram is that there is a lot of information to absorb if you're getting into the Airbnb space, whether you want to come in as an interior designer, as an investor, as a co-host, whatever. It's really hard to cover all of that information in under 3 minutes. So this is where we really want to kind of take some deep dives, get into some larger conversations, and give you guys some more quality information about our journey and other people's journeys. And yeah, that's the goal, I think.
Yes.
For now.
Yes, for now. That's the goal.
Also, if you want to be on our podcast, please reach out to us. Email karwelldesign@gmail.com. Our goal, full transparency, is to bring transparency around real estate investing, Airbnb, and interior design. For us, we're 2 super small town girls with absolutely no community of business owners, interior designers, investors at all. And so for us, it was a lot of hunting and pecking and a lot of failure and a lot of mistakes at the beginning. And if we just had some people that would have said, hey, y'all, you're doing it wrong, it would have saved us a lot of time, heartbreak, money, energy, tears. And so we're going to try and do that for you guys.
Yes. And we built up like a really big community, honestly, through a lot of clients that we got doing design, and learned a ton from them. We would end up booking calls with people, just being like, can we pick your brain outside of what we're doing for you? Because we know what we're doing with that. But we were picking their brain for information too. So it's just nice to have a place where like we can give out as much information as possible because we were given so much information from other people.
Yeah. No gatekeeping here.
No, we're not going to be those people that are like, I don't want Airbnb to become oversaturated. There's not enough of a market for it. Yes, there is.
Yes. We're a pro abundance mindset.
Yes.
So also, we really want to start every single episode with kind of an icebreaker where we tell you Airbnb horror stories. The idea behind this is that, if you are on an Airbnb train at all and you are consuming a bunch of information, everyone is screaming from the mountaintops that it is the greatest thing in the entire world. Although I agree, it comes with some chaos, which all good things do. But we want to make sure that you guys have the full picture. So we reached out to hosts already. We will continue reaching out to hosts, and we are going to bring you anonymous horror stories. So to kick off our first show, I'm going to let Emily read through our first horror story.
Yes. So we put this out on Instagram, and it's actually on our website, and I will have the link to our link tree in whatever bio, if this is on YouTube, Spotify, whatever podcast you're listening through. I will have the link so you guys can submit your horror stories too, because we got so many already, and some of them are actually pretty bad. And everybody says, obviously, like, we're still doing Airbnb, we love it, but there are definitely some horror stories, and they will be anonymous. So don't worry about like hurting people's feelings, because
yeah, nobody's talking about this stuff, and we all need to be. So let's open up the conversation without putting some faces to some names.
Okay, so this very first episode is kind of a doozy. So it starts with, okay, so We have a cleaning team for our properties. They cleaned the unit on Wednesday and sent us pictures, and everything looked good per usual. Then our guest checks in on Thursday. So like 24 hours from when I got the pictures from our cleaners, and immediately calls me. She says, "Hey, are you sure this place was cleaned? It looks like someone slept in the bed, like the sheets are pulled back and the pillows are down." And I immediately think she's trying to scam us. So I send her a picture, or I have her send a picture. And sure enough, it's exactly how she described. So then I call our cleaning company and ask if the pictures they sent us of the cleaning were old or something. And nope, they assured me that they cleaned and did not leave it like that. The guest is so chill and tells us, "Hey, no worries, I still want to stay here," which is totally fine. Which is kind of... No, I would not be doing that. This person, and I'm pretty laid back, but I wouldn't have stayed there. But this person stays. So they said, "We're shocked that she isn't furious with us, but we're grateful," and we move on. Fast forward to later that night, she calls me again and says that she's sitting on the living room couch watching TV when a homeless man walks through the front door like he owns the place.
No. No.
He tries to tell her the place is his and is like, "I mean, this is where I slept last night." And the guest still wants to stay. And
where do we get more guests like that?
I know. And is like, "No worries at all. We advised her to stay somewhere else so we can put new locks on everything, but she literally still wants to stay." Craziest thing ever.
Oh my gosh, y'all. See, this is what I'm talking about. That's a good one to start. I hadn't heard it before this.
I was reading that last night and I was like, first of all, it's not like, because some horror stories are about guests. Like, you can have guests that are just not the best, or they're really needy or whatever.
Yeah, everybody deals with the Karens.
This is the nicest guest ever. It's just something like crazy that can happen.
And that's on getting a lock that you can change the code after every single guest. I'm like, how did this guy even get in? Like, that floors me. Oh my gosh, there's some gaps there. Well, if you ever stay in one of our places, I swear that will not happen.
Yeah, no way. Are you kidding? Just like a homeless man walks in, he's like, "Hey, this is my place." Like, what? The confidence in that man.
I just can't believe it. I could not imagine standing in front of someone and being like, "This is my house. Get out."
"I slept here last night. It's mine now."
Good for that guy, though, man. Maybe we should all take a lesson from him.
I know.
If you say it with confidence, it must be true, right?
Also, take a lesson from that guest. Be nice even when things go wrong, guys. It's not always the host's fault.
We're trying out here. That time it really was the host's fault, though. Oh there are things you can do to prevent that.
Yeah, I want to know, like, because if he just waltzed in the front door when she was there, he must have just waltzed in the front door. Like, did the cleaners leave the door unlocked?
I don't know. I mean, even, it's one of those things where, like, when you have old guests and all of a sudden something happens, you're like, okay, how long has that code been the same? It's like if it was a code entry, I don't know. I'm floored. I need more details, but
yeah, there has to be more behind the scenes. But oh my gosh,
that's
so
a beautiful
crazy.
Story.
Insane. I thought that one was pretty crazy. There's some other ones too, though. So if you have crazier, please send them over, because I am so entertained by these.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, and it's like every time we meet new hosts, that's always an opening question I ask them is like, "Dude, what's your worst horror story?" Because I think mine is the worst in the world, and then I'll hear other people's and I'm like, oh.
Not even close.
Never mind. So
no, yours is pretty bad.
We'll share that another time.
Yeah, that'll be for another day. I have horror stories as a guest too. Yeah. So I can tell you I have a pretty bad one as a guest that I'll share at some point.
Emily, I'm going to share it now. Emily found, what did you find? Condoms or
a dildo underneath the bed.
I literally now in my notes on Turnover B&B for cleaners, I literally put, "Please check under bed for inconspicuous objects." And the cleaners are always like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Look, horror story.
Yeah.
Horror story."
And the person was like super sorry, right? Like we found it, and then we messaged when we were leaving, when we were checking out, and we were like, "Hey, this is totally cool. Like, we're not mad about it, but the next person might be.
Yeah.
So please have your cleaners get this dildo from under the bed, because I am not touching it." And the guy was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," and like super apologetic. And I was like, "Dude, I'm chilling. Like, people got to do what they got to do. Just like make sure the next person doesn't have to deal with it,
Also, the cleaners are the MVPs. All the way around, the cleaners are the MVPs. Like, if you've got a good cleaner, you've struggled. goodness.
There is no way I was touching that. So those poor cleaners for having to clean that up, because it might have been clean, might not have been clean. Who freaking knows?
Ew. Don't want to think about it. It's probably not clean. Okay, so let's transition here for a moment. This is our first podcast, so if you are listening, holy cow, we appreciate you. You are our OGs. We want to, on this first podcast, just kind of walk through who we are, where we came from, tell our story a little bit. It's a get to know us. We are drinking. It is
no
Friday.
Well,
and
not that it needs to be Friday. So.
Yeah. And we did just spend 2 hours trying to set up this podcast equipment. Look, we're designers and investors, not techies, and this was incredibly difficult, but we're so proud we got it up and running. But afterward we were like, let's pour ourselves a drink. We deserve it.
And we wanted to be classy enough to have a wine glass, but it is in fact seltzer. I don't have any wine here, so if it looks like we're drinking water out of wine glasses, no, it's seltzer. I didn't have any wine. So.
And for my mom who's watching, it is water.
It's water. Yeah. It is absolutely water. We do not drink on camera or off.
Yeah, definitely not at 1 o'clock on a Friday. Okay, so Emily and I have a very, very, very long history. We have been best friends for literally forever. Well, 4th grade if we want to be exact. But we grew up together, same small town out in the middle of nowhere, Podunk, Michigan.
They are not going to like that you called it Podunk.
Whatever. And we have been inseparable since. So Emily and I have chased each other around the country. We've lived in Texas for a while. Now we found ourselves back here. And to be honest, we didn't expect to be working together in this capacity. And as things happen, as COVID specifically happened, we landed together, and it was a giant silver lining in the whole COVID situations.
Absolutely.
So here we are now. We spent all of 2020, 2021 designing Airbnbs and growing our interior design business. And that's been incredible, stressful, wonderful, terrible, all at the same time. But honestly, neither of us would have made it through without the other.
Absolutely not. The best and most stressful time of my entire life, probably, and so many lessons learned, but quite literally, I think both of us would have given up if the other one wasn't there to make us keep going.
Oh,
It was just crazy.
Yeah.
And we loved it, but it was crazy.
Yeah, it would have been middle fingers up to it way, way long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And so, in all honesty, this podcast is getting kicked off because we are going through a merge and a rebrand. I'm going to put a little plug in there before we get into any more detail, but you will see us kind of switch throughout this. So we are going to still remain KarWells. That's going to always be our celeb name. That is always going to encompass us and our investments. But we are growing. And over the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of complications as a host. We're dealing with hosts specifically when we're designing for them, aside from just interior design. So we were really plugging in just in that facet. And as we were getting to know other hosts, we were realizing, there is a much larger need in the market for more help, because Airbnb is still this infant industry. And we're going to see if we can do that. So in the very near future, if you see anything about Superhost Labs, wink, wink, that's us.
Very subtle. Very subtle.
We're behind it. Okay, so now we're transitioning. Both Emily and I have come up with some questions for each other, so you can kind of get to know us, and we can dive a little bit deeper and ask some juicy questions between best friends. So enjoy hanging out with us.
Yeah, I think, and I really tried to come up with questions. There's one that I kind of know the answer to, but I tried to come up with questions that I wouldn't know the answer to already, because that's no fun.
Yeah, welcome to our therapy session.
Yeah, that's essentially what these are going to be. Weekly podcasts where we're just having therapy with each other. we gotta
keep our work fun.
Yes. Okay. I'll go first. First question, and this is the one that I think I might know the answer to, but do you have an all-time favorite inspiration Airbnb?
Ooh, yes and yes. Okay, so for me, Airbnb is something that just is in my head, going to explode. And there's just so much that you can do with it. Airbnb went from being something that was a situation where people were renting out rooms in their houses and people were taking their vacation homes and just posting it online, to now it's turned into something where it's just completely changing the way the travel industry works, and you no longer have to stay in a hotel. And so for me, we started with arbitrage properties. We started with 1-bed, 1-bath units, and I wanted to see how far we could take it. And so we are currently in process of that, right? Like, we have no idea where this journey is going to take us. But the one property that I have had my eyes set on as like my idealist end result is the Invisible House in Joshua Tree. If you guys have never seen it, go look it up. I'm like, gorgeous. It's art. It's shifting the way the travel industry works. It's an experience. It's one of a kind. It is $3,500 a night. It is stunning. And it's one of those things that like is a legacy, So for me, I look at it and I'm like, holy cow, someone just poured their heart and soul into this property and is offering this insanely quality experience that I would love to see us do one day.
Yeah. And properties like that, it takes so much of an upfront investment, but then you're charging $3,500 a night for it. So you're paying it off quicker just because, but it takes so much on the front end, but then you get this gorgeous, insanely beautiful, like Airbnb. That's an Airbnb and art.
Yeah. And it's making you crap tons of money.
Oh, yeah. It's famous. Like, people go out of their way to stay there. People go to Joshua Tree specifically for the house, not just to go to Joshua Tree.
Yes.
So it's like a destination.
Once in a lifetime experience. So that's my favorite. My turn for a question. So, Emily, what's been the design you're most proud of to date?
Okay. I was thinking about this because I was looking at the questions. And it's probably a surprising one because it's not like they weren't massive projects, but we did 2 arbitrage units for a client that is a consistent client. We've had him a ton. I've worked with him a ton. Mike Brown, if you happen to be listening to this podcast, hello. And he had 2 apartments that we were doing, and I think you were designing something else, and so I had to like completely...
I was doing my own units, remember?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I had to completely do these designs pretty much by myself, like. And if you have any background on me, I don't have interior design experience, like as far as going to college for it, like Sarah does. I went for retail and fashion and stuff like that. So I have a little bit of creativity, but I just had never done something completely by myself at that point. And so I just did it, and I picked 2 design directions, and one of them was like a sunset theme. And so it's like pink and red and orange, which is nothing like what I wear ever. It was completely outside my comfort zone. And then we did the emerald one,
the
that same time.
kaleidoscope one, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like an emerald green and blue unit. So they were completely opposite of each other. One super masculine, one super feminine. And I loved how they turned out. I thought they were so cool, so bold, and just like one was so far outside my comfort zone. And to this day, Mike says that that's one of his highest booked units because of the way it looks.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like, I was nervous for that, right? Like, especially the sunset unit. I was like, man, not only is this like way out of Emily's comfort zone, but it is a huge risk overall because it's so feminine, right? You are like really niching yourself down in the Airbnb space by offering something like that. And then to have it like be such a hit, it was just so wholesome all the way around. Oh, hi, kitty. Welcome. The cats are going to be a part of this podcast. It is what it is.
So sorry. I have 2 cats and they're going to be jumping in and out. There's nothing that I can do about it. I have tried. They're divas. So
yeah, they love the attention and we love giving it to them. So
yes. But yeah, so it was, and I think I felt a little more comfortable about it because I gave 2 options, right? There was one super feminine and one super masculine. So people had the option for either, and they're in the same building.
Yeah.
So like, say it's a group of guys and a group of girls and they want to like have something together. They could each book them separately. I don't know. It was just super fun. And knowing that it is so successful because of that is like a really good feeling.
Yeah. That's the end result. I mean, it's one of those things where Airbnb is underdeveloped. And so there just is a lot of inherent risk that comes with your design. You just don't know how people are going to respond to it. It's art. And so to have that one be as beautiful and as like well received as it was, Oh,
It's such a good feeling. And it's just so fun when he like says that too.
Yeah.
And he's like, he'll like repost it sometimes and be like, yeah, it's like one of our top booked units. I'm like, yes. Thank you.
The ladies love it.
Just a confidence boost. Yeah, if you're got a bachelorette party in Dallas, that's the spot.
Yeah,
Man,
we got the spot for you.
Okay, my next question for Sarah, and you'll see that most of them are just Airbnb related questions, obviously, but some of them will be kind of fun. But this one is, what are the peaks and pits of putting together an Airbnb? So like pick one peak and one pit that are like the absolute worst and the absolute best part.
The peak is the end result. Like for me, that is just the ultimate high. Like loving interior design, always wanting to be an interior designer, and then getting involved in the interior design world post college before Airbnb, it was almost soul crushing because you don't get to like have full creative expression. And in Airbnb, that's given that to us, right? Like we've gotten to be as creative as we want to be, and our clients have been really receptive to it. And, you know, we really play into that art. And so, I mean, Emily's seen me time and time again. We will be like 2 days out from having a completed install, and I will literally start spiraling and self-sabotaging. I'm like, I hate everything. Redo it all. Like, scrap it all. We're starting over. We're extending the timeline. Like, we're sending all this furniture back. And Emily's like, Sarah, like, just trust yourself. Like, seriously, like, we know this is going to be beautiful. Like, you've planned it out in your head a million times over. Like, we need to just trust the process. And I'm like, nope. Can't do it. It's hideous. I hate it. And then when that final result pulls together and you like watch your idea in your head come to life, it's just like 30 minutes of just emotional high. There's just like literally nothing like it. The pit, on the other hand, is everything before that.
So literally the entire process.
The whole process, I mean, we have a very love-hate relationship with it, right? We've done so many of these at this point that it's like, it's insane. It's just the amount of cardboard boxes, y'all.
Trash is the worst.
The amount of cardboard boxes that, like, we spend a half a day just flattening the boxes after we open everything up and start, like, putting it together. I mean,
breaking down styrofoam.
Yeah. The amount of trash that happens from an Airbnb. I mean, we got into a habit of taking it to a recycling facility, but it's so much work. It's so much work figuring out timelines of furniture. It's so much work figuring out what furniture is going to fit where. It's so much work making sure that whatever you ordered actually comes in and does it look good and where's your wow factor. And I mean, it's so much. And so I think that like the level of coordination that has to go into it for the end result to be beautiful really is the pit, followed by the peak of the end result. Sour and sweet.
Yeah, Sarah's peak makes sense, but she has always one big spiral day. No matter what, there is one day where you'll just see her standing and staring at stuff, and I'm like, don't you dare. Don't do that to me. We just finished.
How many times do we have to do this?
And sometimes I'll just be like, all right, what do you want to change? And we do it. But most of the time, just trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're doing.
Sometimes. Yesterday was a spiral day for me too. Emily and I went through a whole 180. It wasn't even design related, but by the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, remember this morning when I was literally ready to like flip the world upside down? I was like, I feel stable again.
She wants to change everything on her spiral days. Everything. Yeah. Everything has to be different. She's like, nope, we're going in a completely different direction. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. No, well,
one of us has to be the logical thinker here.
And literally no one else in this world would deal with it like Emily deals with it. Like they would be like, this girl is a psycho, please exit the building.
Like the project where you wanted to paint 2 massive card decals on a wall when we had half a day. We had half a day before this project had to be finished, and she's like, let's paint these massive things on the wall because I just feel like it's not quite ready yet. It looked fantastic.
It did, but it didn't even photograph. Like they're not even in the professional photos.
No, it was like,
it's like so extra.
So extra.
No
and
reason.
I'm sure the guests absolutely loved it, but yeah, they're not even in the photos.
Yeah. Oh, well, welcome to my bleep show. Shit show. All right, next question. What's been the hardest part of starting this entire business?
Oh my gosh. Feeling like I don't know literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have this idea and we want to make it great, and then you dive in and there's so many things behind the scenes that you're just like, I don't know how to do that. or like setting up your systems. If you don't have like if you don't have the capital to spend on like a CRM or anything like that, you're doing it yourself. I literally, you guys, I made spreadsheets on Google Sheets just to like keep us organized. And I'm updating them constantly because at the beginning, like we just didn't have the capital to spend on like,
we had 4 pennies and a lot of hope.
Yeah. And so we're just like making things up as we go, and you figure it out. To be completely honest, you just figure it out and you make stuff happen. And as long as our clients were getting something that was like great on the front end and they loved it and they were having a good experience, I was happy. But behind the scenes, you're just like, oh, nope, we got to do this now. Okay. And then tax season rolls around. Oh my gosh.
Everything's on fire and everyone's crying.
And there's like such a fun thing too. I think that like learning how to do all of that, the experience of learning how to do all of that is great. It's just while you're in it, it feels like everything's going to come crumbling down.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But once you get past that part, and especially like once you get a team where everybody has their own individual thing that they know that they're doing, it feels so good to have gone through the back end stuff. An added thing about it is, so like I've worked 9-to-5s, I've worked retail jobs, I've worked serving, like I've worked all different kinds of jobs. Having to motivate yourself every single day to make sure that you get your stuff done. Like you don't go in the morning and then you clock out at 5 and then you go home and you don't take your work home. You're literally working at all times.
We're hunters.
Yeah. Getting phone calls at midnight from people because there's something that needs to be taken care of. Like you never clock out, which if you love what you do, great, then you don't mind not clocking out. But there is that added thing, like if you're diving in, you're diving all the way in. There's no like going halfway.
Yeah, that's super good point. Both me and my husband are entrepreneurs, and Emily's been drugged into this entrepreneurial world as well. And both him and I always are like, every single morning we're like, we have to go hunt. We're not gatherers. We're not like, nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody's telling you where you're going to make your money. Every single day you have to go and you have to hunt. And you have to love it. If you don't love it, I can imagine it would be absolute torture. But if you love it, it's like so liberating. In all the chaos, it's so liberating. So
yeah. And there's the added benefit of like when you get established, we do make our own schedule. So like if we have the luxury of being able to like, I can take this week off and feel comfortable taking that week off because I have everything set up in place to be able to do that. That is a freedom that you get that you don't get in like an everyday job where you have to ask somebody's permission to then take the day off. Like now I'll let Sarah know, like, hey, just so you know, I'm probably not working this day because I'm there. Or if you still need something, I'm available, but I'm going to be on a hike or something. Like there is that nice added benefit of once you put the work in and you like make sure that everything's in place to do it, you have some sense of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to put yourself first,
which is like why you got into Airbnb in the first place. It's like one, passive income, but like freedom of time is like a huge reason. That's always been like one of your main priorities.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to get to my deathbed and find out that I've worked doing crap that I hate for my entire life.
Exactly.
I'm trying to have fun the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. My next question for you is, if we were going to start another business tomorrow, something completely outside of Airbnb, what would you want it to be?
I didn't read these questions ahead of time. Typical.
I sent them to her just so everybody knows. She had them.
I am the toxic half of this relationship.
She's just the fly by the seat of her pants half of this relationship.
Yes. If we were going to start another business, one, I know that Emily wants to start a t-shirt business, but that, in all honesty, we had an idea years ago, or Emily and my husband, I think, is where it started.
Oh, yes.
Instead of, there's Twin Peaks and there's Hooters and there's everything else.
Nobody steal this idea.
Yeah. How dare you? Her and my husband had talked about opening up something called Peaches. That is booty based. And essentially, like, if we could start down the road, if we could just move somewhere tropical and start Peaches on a beach somewhere and be wearing our little booty shorts and walking around being social, and that I think I would want something that is less large. Like, if we were to step away from this really fulfills that, like, holy cow, we're making impact in a space that's new, that scratches that itch. But if I were to scrap this entire thing and sell out one day, like, you'll catch me running the most simple business in the world, being a server somewhere.
Yeah, like a boutique in the middle of nowhere
Yes.
where like all the locals come there, but it's not
Yes.
some massive thing. That is exactly how I pictured it being
Yes.
when we came up with that idea. So I'm so glad we're on the same page.
That'll be our retirement when we quit it all and you're like, oh, I wonder what Emily and Sarah are doing at 75. We're going to be in booty shorts still at our
Yeah.
bar called Peaches.
Google a bar called Peaches or Booty. Name TBD.
Yeah. If the peach emoji is still hot, then that's what it'll be.
Exactly. Yeah, I just think that would be so fun.
Yeah. Slow it down, make it a little simpler and a little more fun.
Yeah, we'd still have all those houses that we invested in, but
Heck yeah.
we're just chilling on a beach somewhere.
Chilling with the locals.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is, what's the thing you're most excited for when thinking about our future? As if we're a married couple.
Kind of. Everybody says online that we're essentially married because we're business partners.
Honestly.
That's like it. It's honestly
It's a
a bigger
marriage.
commitment than marriage.
It's a marriage for sure. Thank God.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere. You're trapped now.
I'm stuck. I think there's like an added benefit to us being best friends and business partners that like makes the future so much more exciting, because if we continue to build what we want our lives to turn into, we get to then go and like do crazy fun things together because we built something that gave us the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
Because like we want to travel and do all these things. Like you have a van and Tyler and I want to get a Sprinter van and literally just travel the US and still be able to work, because great thing, you can work from your phone now and still be able to do those things if we need to. But
Oh, hi. She's giving me all 11s.
yeah. But yeah, just like freedom to, because even we spend a lot of time together working, but oddly enough, we do still like spending time together outside of work.
Yeah.
And so like the freedom to do the fun things is what I'm excited for.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, and I've always had this like huge fear, this like overarching fear. Hello, kitty. Of getting to the end of anything that we create, any business, and being alone. I mean, you know, when you start looking at entrepreneurs across the board and you start looking at like struggles that entrepreneurs have and people who have spent a lot of time building up their own business, is that they feel incredibly lonely. And I went into it and I was like, no, I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be at the end of this, and I don't want to be wealthy and alone. And so for me, it's like, okay, above all else, we're building this because at the end of this, we get to be together and we get to be chilling, and we don't have to go through that loneliness. Like I can't even fathom having to go through all of the things that we've gone through already alone. Like I would be in a corner crying.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way that any of this like could have happened if I was by myself.
Yeah, but I agree. That's a good answer. What happens down the road? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. My question. Oh, okay. This might be like kind of same as the beginning, but what is your dream Airbnb location in or out of the US that you want to own one?
Oh God. Out of the US, Positano, Italy. Easily. I mean, it's the most beautiful place in the world. And it's been taken over by Instagrammers, which, I mean, is amazing that all the other people are getting to experience it too. But like the first time I went, it was like this really slow, like sleepy Italian town that when we pulled up, I actually cried, right? Like I pulled up, I was like, this place exists. Like I actually found heaven on earth. And so owning a property there would be a dream come true. Somewhere in the US, man. If it were in the US, definitely near a national park somewhere. Whether it be Glacier, whether it be Zion, whether it be Yosemite, like anything that's like an experience added on to one of the most magical experiences that people will have in their lifetime by going to a national park and just being floored. That's kind of the goal with the US ones. But if I could go global, definitely Positano, Italy.
Never been, but the photos are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that is insane. We will go there. Maybe
One
next
day.
month.
Maybe, yeah, hopefully I'll be in Europe sometime next month.
All right. Next question is, what's the best and worst part about working with me?
Everybody get comfortable.
Honestly.
This is going to take a while. No, I think I've had this conversation with maybe my mom the other day. So, okay, let's get the worst out of the way. Sarah is like, it's kind of a good and bad thing. Sarah is like a dive head first into anything. She sees the positive in any situation, which has so many benefits. But like, she doesn't think about it at all.
Very reactive.
She's like, if something sounds good, she's like, let's go. And I'm sitting there panicking, being like, nope, no, hold on. Like, there are other factors to consider in this.
Time out. We have red flags everywhere, Sarah. How do you not see any of these? I'm like,
yeah.
Blinded
and so
by optimism.
it's just like, and I think because we have like the friendship that we have outside of being business partners, it's like really easy for me to be like, Sarah, chill for a second. Like, let's have a conversation outside of the meeting that this person is on, and let's like talk about it, just because like there are good things about being a risk taker, right? Like, this is like probably one of the more positive things is like, I don't think I would have done half of the things in my life if Sarah hadn't been in my life, because I don't take risks ever. I like am such a logical thinker. I sit back, and if I feel like something is scary, I will like crawl into a hole and I won't do it. And so I don't think half of my life would have been like as exciting if I didn't have Sarah before business and during business to like become the person that I am, or like the business owner that I am. So that's like a huge positive thing, but then it's also can be the downside too. Yes. Which I like, it's not like the worst thing in the world, right? But it's just sometimes
it has been our pain point in the past.
Sometimes I have to be like, slow your roll there, Sarah.
Yep. I always tell people, like, if you want me to sum myself up in one sentence, it's that I am overly optimistic, and it is my greatest asset and my biggest downfall. It just is. It's like I can see nothing but rainbows and butterflies all the time. And so like in my world, it's like, oh my gosh, this has nothing but upside, and this person is definitely honest and loyal all the time, and there's nothing that could happen that's bad. And then bad things happen and people are cruel, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, Emily, my judgment was wrong again.
Yeah, there have been even sometimes with a situation that I will not talk about where like I'll have to be like, no, this is going wrong, and she's like, no, it's not going wrong, it's totally great. And I'm like, no, this is a situation that's going badly, like we need to do something. And she's like, no, that's not happening. And then it does, and then I'm sitting there like, mm-hmm.
And then I'm in tears.
I'm like, yeah, I was in tears 2 days ago. Welcome to the club.
So glad you've caught up, Sarah.
But I think that that's like why our relationship has worked like as friends and as business partners, is because we are quite literally complete opposites.
Yeah. And to play on that, I mean, both of us are Geminis, and I'm not huge into astrology by any means, but they say that that's the person that's like two-faced and has like two personalities, and I feel like that's us. We're like polar opposite.
Literally the complete opposite personalities. And don't judge us because we're Geminis. I see you people all over TikTok. Everybody hates Geminis.
All the hate.
Any of those like filters that'll rotate, and it like they'll be like, oh, guess your zodiac sign, and when people get Gemini, they freak out. Yeah. I'm like, we are fantastic. I have not met a Gemini that I didn't like. So
it's because we are.
I know.
There was one time that I was sitting at a birthday party, and they were talking about best friends, and that then their best friends making other friends, and I was like, no, it's if Emily wants to have another best friend, like you can consider that other person 7 feet under. Like it's not happening. She's mine. And someone like was looking at their menu, and they look up at me and they're like, "Are you both Geminis?" And I was like, "What's it to you?" Oh my gosh.
Maybe. Rude.
Called out. Like I don't think I believe in astrology, but that one sentence has me considering otherwise. Like,
yeah, so all you people who thought you were Sarah's best friend, you're not.
Yeah. News to you, I'm very friendly, and I might accidentally call you my best friend if I've had too many of these, but just know somebody's coming for you.
I'm right here watching. In case.
Always watching.
So creepy. I'm gonna scare people away. Okay, I think I have one or two more questions. Yes. I think yours are done. Come up with 5 questions. Sarah said, let's come up with 6. And then she said she was sending me 5, and then she sent me 4. So I have 6 to make up for.
Do I really only have 4?
Yes.
Dang it. Whatever.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'll just do one more because one of them we've kind of already touched on. Okay. If we had to go back to doing installs together, hopefully never, what are 5 songs that you would make sure were on the playlist?
Oh, I read this one and I was like, make sure you know the song titles before we get into this, and then I didn't.
We had the best playlists, you guys. The best playlists.
Yes.
That's the only way to make it through installing a property.
We would belt driver's license. Belt it.
Olivia Rodrigo, I love you.
Belt it, replay it, belt it again, replay it.
Download all the different versions of it and also belt those.
Yes, please. What's the Nicki Minaj, Drake,
Only.
and yes, Only. We would go from driver's license to Only.
To, oh my gosh, what's that? Complicated by Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes.
Literally like complete 180s from each other.
And then we'd throw in some good old fashioned country music on top of it. Yes, all of those songs would be on my playlist all over again. I feel like for us, like the music especially, I specifically remember it in the grunge unit and how stressful that time was.
Oh yeah.
Overall, there was just so many things that were going on in our life during this one install, and both of us were like, you know, it was almost therapeutic to like have to do so much painting in a property because while you were painting you couldn't do anything else and everything else was on fire. And so when we were in that property, it was like it was such therapy to just like be able to paint and blast music and sing all day long.
The neighbors in that apartment probably hated us because we played music so loud.
Honestly.
I think lately I've been really into Eminem's Music to Be Murdered By album. And now that he performed at the Super Bowl, I'm like back into it. And so I would definitely have that entire album on the playlist. I love that album.
Heck yeah. We should post our playlist for people to jam to.
Oh my gosh,
if you're installing an Airbnb and you want to jam with us, because we likely are doing the exact same thing.
Oh yeah. Even when we would have office days, Sarah got a membership at this like fancy place. It's
called networking.
Yeah, the Petroleum Club. They got like a membership there, and yeah, we ended up, a lot of stuff came from it, but we used to go work at this place. And Sarah and I sing. We sing when we're installing. We sing when we're designing. We just sing. So we're
don't sing well, but we do sing.
Oh yeah, we're not. I am tone deaf, so it's absolutely not good. But we're sitting at a table singing to the music that is playing in this fancy club where all of these like older people, like business people, are also working, and this guy is sitting at another table. He eventually got up and left. I don't know if it was because of us or because his workday was over. But
he'd had enough of our concert.
We are singers. Well, we're not singers, but we are.
Yeah, we like giving each other concerts.
Yeah. So
well, that wraps up the questions for today. Again, guys, if you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much. We are super excited to keep cultivating and furthering our community with you guys. Again, this podcast is really going to be very transparent around money, investing, Airbnb, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So if you have not already, please subscribe. If you want to follow us on any of our social media platforms, it is all at KarWells Design. And if you are a host and you are looking for help designing, or you want a turnkey Airbnb and you want us to do all of it, top to bottom, send us an email at karwellsdesign@gmail.com.
Yes. And don't forget, submit your Airbnb horror stories if you have them through the link in our link tree, because I want to read them. I think they're funny. And maybe they will be on the next podcast. Hopefully, as time goes on, these podcasts will get bigger and better, and we will learn the tech as we need to. But this first one was just like a way of you guys getting to know us for anybody who's new. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and this is fun.
Cheers to a Friday afternoon.
Cheers
Us
to Friday.
Actually getting through a podcast. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we didn't even cheers at the beginning.
You're behind, Emily. It's time to chug.
Sorry. Okay.
All right, guys. See y'all later.
See you next time.